everybody. Thank you for joining us once again on another episode of the 20 Mile March podcast. My name's Gabriel Hirschberger, and I'm excited to talk with Darby Rollins today. Darby is going to be releasing an amazing bestseller on Amazon here, a posture correction device. And I'm excited for you guys all to get your hands on it and try it out, and for Darby to take us through his journey of manifesting this thing into the world, which is so freaking cool. So Darby, hey, thanks for taking the time and coming on the show and sharing what you're going to share.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me on.
Darby, so let's just talk about the device a little bit, and then we'll tease it, and then we'll go back and sort of talk a little bit about your history and how you got to the mindset of even, creating a device that's going to help a lot of people. That's super important to think to get there, because you went through a lot of different things, a lot of trials, a lot of failing, but just persisting. So talk a little bit about the device, then we'll go back.
Yeah. So the device that I am going to be putting up on Amazon here within the next month or so, it's designed specifically for improving your posture, helping you stand upright, more confident, and practicing those kind of poses that actually project the kind of person that you're wanting to project to the world versus the slouched over person that sits at their computer for 5 hours, 6 hours or more a day, and experiences the negative side effects that most of us have to battle on a daily basis. This device is designed to be worn for anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour a day, primarily during the first 3 to 4 weeks of use, to really start building up that muscle memory and building on good habits of posture, while allowing our brain to kind of rewire itself so that we start to hold ourselves with a little bit more confidence in our daily lives in general, and just become second nature eventually.
Yeah. What's it called again?
Called the Exomend Posture Correction Brace.
Exomend Posture Correction Brace.
Yes.
That's an awesome name. That's so cool. Kind of sounds like X-Men a little bit, like already. It's kind of got some power to it.
Well, maybe I did watch a lot of X-Men as a kid. Cyclops was always my favorite. Maybe that had something subconsciously to do with it. I don't know.
Did you look at any of the science? Because I have heard from that, like when you correct your posture and you bring your shoulders back and you have your head up, that it is like impossible to sort of stay sad in that mood. So if you're feeling kind of sort of down, you just fix your body and like everything shifts with it. Have you heard that before?
Yeah, well, there's actually a TED Talk. I think his name was Amy Cuddy, had it a few years ago. And this is like the first kind of little sniff I got of that subject. But what it kind of relates to is you tricking your brain into thinking you feel a certain way. And if you stay in a certain, like a power pose for, at least 2 minutes, that's kind of what the studies say, that you can trick yourself into feeling that emotion. And so, if you were like going and, want to like get prepped up for a big meeting, if you just, stood in a position that really projected confidence, like Superman, stand like Superman, stand in that position for a couple minutes, your body will start to think that you feel that way, and it'll, start to change kind of your mindset, just like that.
Mm-hmm. How is how are our jobs sitting in front of the computers? Like, as our economy has shifted from an industrial economy to now this knowledge economy, where most of us are a lot more sedentary than our grandparents were. How is that affecting our bodies and our health in general?
Well, it's definitely affecting. I mean, you could see, cartoons everywhere about the evolution of man. You're coming from a, fish or a primate and stand up tall. And then now we're going right back down to sitting at a computer all the time. And people write cartoons about it in the paper, but, there's, plenty of, statistics out there that really show that, text neck, for put in quotes, is something that, all of us are dealing with as far as we're looking at our phones and computers all day.
Where your neck is, you're looking downward. And so your neck.
Yeah. And so, I mean, like that just for like one thing it just is kind of just shapes how we function and interact with people on a daily basis. And so it has changed from the time that our parents and, grandparents have been there. But, what's also good though, is that we're a lot more mindful now than we probably were back then about how we may be holding ourselves, because now it's becoming such a big problem that so many people are realizing. I mean, you notice all these standing desks is the new thing. I'm using one right now. I mean, it's great because you get to stand up and you don't have to sit yourself at work. And it's good that there's a movement around there like this. But an issue that comes along with it is that you can still utilize tools while you're at a desk, but that doesn't necessarily build the muscle memory of how you're holding yourself while you're standing there. It's giving you a better work position overall, but you might still not be training yourself on, improving yourself on a daily basis. When, that could be impacting other areas of your life versus still just kind of going and working at your desk and then leaving.
The Exomend has like padded shoulders, and then it has like in the back of it some kind of like a harder structure to it that gives you some proprioceptive feedback or sort of against your spine, or is that am I missing it? Is there more?
Well, it's broad in the back so that it just covers a larger surface area and has more strength and support from the back there. So that the material is made from a neoprene of sorts, but it's breathable and it's built with spandex, so it can stretch a little bit more, and it has a little bit more give to it than say some other posture correctors on the market that will kind of hold you just like a straitjacket. This still allows you to move around a little bit, but it gives you that gentle pull that you need, and that extra support in the back is there so that you can keep the support where it needs to be, but the pads up front ensure that the straps don't cut into your underarms.
Okay, cool.
It's for added comfort.
Yeah. So let's talk about how you became a product guy, and that journey because you didn't start off with this. You started dabbling with some different things first. So take us back a little bit along your entrepreneurship journey, if that sounds good to you.
Yeah. So my journey kind of started, like I would say a lot of people get their thoughts set on the entrepreneur journey with the 4-hour work week. Mid, I guess it would have been 2016. I really picked that book up, and that opened my mind up to a lot. And it really got my mind switched on leaving the corporate mentality that I was in and to transition into a world like that. And I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I just knew I wanted out. And the way I saw at that time was to get my real estate license and go into real estate full time while I was also doing other jobs like, riding Ubers and, delivery, food delivery services and stuff, just to, keep everything connected in that time. But after a few months, I'm doing the real estate stuff. It takes a long time for that business to build up. It was a little bit more of a shock to me than I anticipated. Looking back now, probably wasn't the smartest decision to quit a corporate job for a commission-only based job. But,
you mean it was a shock? Sorry to interrupt. Just because you felt like you thought it'd be a lot easier to sell, or that it was hyped more. The person who brought this idea of becoming an agent into your world, and that you just didn't have tell me about that.
I just didn't realize all that went into really like the entire getting a customer from the get-go. And that was like, I hadn't even been introduced to like what sales funnels were at that time and like the science behind those. And so I was stuck in the first phase. I was trying to generate my own leads, but I didn't know the first thing about like Facebook ads and like all this stuff. So I was starting from ground zero on top of being a ground zero agent. I wasn't working smarter. I was working harder than I should have, and it wasn't getting me anywhere. I just kept running in circles. So I kept looking at different ways I could, try and make leads with real estate, different ways I could make ends meet. Make a sale here or there, thanks to my good buddy who, after a few months in real estate, he works in the auction business, and he actually helped me get a job in there, which is a little bit more stable. During the week. And so that has been able to help sustain me as I continue to work on the real estate and also kind of dabble in a bunch of other aspects of the internet marketing world and, making money online. But more importantly, just making a business that I could run from anywhere and have the lifestyle that I wanted to, and promote the kind of business that I enjoyed. And so that's where I kind of got stuck up, was I was looking at all these different ways to just quote, quote, make money online, but I didn't connect with any of them. And that's why I could never really fully commit to anything, because I didn't feel a deep connection with the purpose behind a project. Right? I didn't want to just make a quick buck and be out of it in a month or even a year. I want to build something that's going to last. And so, I would be working in the auction industry during the week, would do benefit and charity events on the weekends. And outside of that, I would also just be kind of diving in and learning different aspects of, different industries where you could go out and, potentially make a business online, and how you could do it, starting a Facebook ad agency for yourself, learning Facebook ads, and, Google AdWords consultant, all kinds of different things. And it wasn't until my parents had kind of turned me onto this course that they bought about a year before, on how to dive in and to Amazon and start making a product on Amazon that you could turn into a business, and the physical product side of things. And that kind of scared me when I first looked into this stuff starting January 2017, because I was, that it's a lot longer process to get started on Amazon as a private labeler, but I didn't understand the potential that something like that had then, because I had my mind focused on too many other things and other websites that would try and pull me in certain directions, because it's easier to make money in other ways. You don't have as much capital up front. It's a little quicker to do this and that, but it's also a lot more difficult to build something that's, that lasts. And so diving into the Amazon side of things, I really got to understand, put what I learned in college to paper, right? And actually see what these numbers look like in real life when you're looking about supply and demand, using cool web apps like Jungle Scout's a really cool one. That's the one that I was doing used. And just for product research purposes, you could look at anything on Amazon and see what it's building in, how many people are going there a month, what their sales are like, when they ran out of stock. And this was something that really caught my interest, because previously in the year, around April, I had signed up with the foundation because I wanted to build a SaaS. And that's what I had my mindset on for up until I got into really the physical product space. Because, and I will say that even though I didn't build the SaaS, it opened my eyes up to everything that it started pointing me at least in the right direction of how I should be working and focusing my mindset on the world of entrepreneurship. Because, there's so many directions that you can go out there, and you really have to be ready to pivot in any situation, especially in a market like this, when stuff, in the blink of an eye can take a 180 on you. Building that mindset up was critical in the stages coming up to even having the ability to say yes and move forward with a purchase order to a supplier overseas that I'd never met before, because of the research that I learned how to do, because of the persistence that it takes, the 20-mile march, just like your episode's called. Every single day, you never know when it's going to click. I thought it was never going to click, and then eventually I just ran across this product, and in the world of the self-development that I kind of started really diving into over last year, that just kind of connected, because I realized that how I was presenting myself to people, while I would just be working at my computer all day, trying to figure something out, when I wasn't working, corporate environment or auction environment, I'd be at the computer all the time outside of it. And, it was where, from a sports background, I was always just going to push myself to my limit. And then I finally realized that I'm hurting myself in the process of this, because I realized after listening to a podcast one day that hit on the subject of body language and how you present yourself to people, it kind of clicked that I was like, man, I'm just not maybe that's not the problem necessarily, but that's definitely something that's thrown in there when I'm going and interacting with new people. I need to step my social game up. I need to learn how to be more presentable to people, and I need to start doing something about it. And the funny thing is that at the time I listened to that podcast, literally was within a couple days of me just scanning across this Jungle Scout app and running across this posture corrector brace. I was like, that'd be kind of cool. And then, so that caught my interest anyways, outside of even knowing if it'd be profitable. But then I did a lot more research into the market,
Yep.
Looked at a lot of the competition, tried out a few of the braces, and they immediately helped me. Some more than others, some I didn't like, some I did like. And I eventually ended up narrowing it down to a similar model to the one that I produced. And then I added a few adjustments onto it just to, just increase the kind of value that it provides. And along with that, just like the overall comfort of wearing it, but really also trying to make it an educational tool to help people kind of reach their goals and, get where they're trying to get in the long run. It all starts today. And if you don't start changing your posture now and you continue to just sit at a chair all day or, walk around with your shoulders slouched forward and, not worried about your outward, appearance projection, look at yourself in a year from now. Are you going to say you're stupid for not, trying to, do something and then fix it and improve your life? Or are you going to be in the same position that you were, that many years ago? Not to say that just because you work on a computer, your life can't,
right,
better over something like this. But I'm always about finding the next thing that I could just do to increase my productivity, my focus, my level by 1% even.
Yeah.
It has over the lifetime is going to have a huge compounded effect. Like, you never know who you're going to meet.
Yep.
You never know when your first impression is going to have. Actually, whenever anybody walks into a room and everybody in the room is going to notice somebody walk in, their first impression of you, whether you talk to them or not, is how you walk in and how you're holding yourself. And so that's so critical in every day of our lives that, just like everyone wants to, take up like a meditation practice. It has its benefits, right? It's small little things you do every single day, but over time they really start to compound and you start to see those benefits unfold in your life in ways that, you might not necessarily be able to equate back to that moment you started meditating. But, if you look back far enough, you might be able to see that my mindset shifted this much. I started looking at things a little bit differently. I started holding myself with just a little bit more poise. Yeah. And, that's, who knows who you're going to meet? Who knows?
Yeah. Since we're talking a bit more about the philosophy and mindset that you need, do you feel like that you're like exceptionally, driven, that you have this, you're sort of a sports guy, you want to be first, you want to win, or is like creating a product something that anybody can do and that you don't have to be special? Or what do you say about to that person who is had the idea but has just shelved it? And what did you like? How did you go from idea to following up on that idea and actually taking those necessary steps? Does anything come to mind?
Yeah, well, I will say that I would consider myself a very driven person, and a lot of that has to do with the sports background and how my parents raised me. And I played baseball all the way through college, and so that had a lot to do with my development and my mindset. And it was always competition win, and I happened to be a pitcher, so I kind of had to be on the mound. And if I won or if I lost, I mean, you can't hide if you're on the pitching mound. And so trying to make a connection between that and even say, being an entrepreneur, you fail big, or you fail and somebody notices, because if you told anybody and they cared at all, they're going to ask you how you're doing in it. And so you have to own up to that. Right.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if you don't tell anybody what you're working on, you don't have any kind of accountability, and you're not going to push yourself to do something if you aren't out there and open with stuff. And that doesn't mean necessarily tell the entire world that you're working on how to get to, Mars, if you're not, Tesla. But, at the same time, you have to be willing to put yourself out there. Right. And if you have an idea and you want to create a product, anybody can do it, but I will tell you that not everyone will do it, because most people won't take the first step, which is just getting out there and falling flat on your face and getting a few broken noses and ears, like tears, and, it's not necessarily fun, and it's not going to be easy. And if you're not willing to put any skin in the game, then your chances of succeeding are a lot less, because the barrier to entry of what you're trying to get into is a lot lower than it needs to be. To weed out the bottom feeders that are going to make it extremely difficult to even get the confidence to go up against them. Yeah. That's why I felt like I felt way more confident putting money behind something that I could create than to, maybe just kind of, roll the dice and hope it got created. So that's what really got my motivation forward. I saw that the path was there with the physical product side of things. And so that's what excited me, because I'm like, you could literally see it happen every single day. And like, it just amazes me about the opportunities now with like the freelance marketplace that open up the ability to like do such cool things and build such cool products. But like the first step, again, like I said, is, anyone can do it, but not everyone will do it, because you just got to put yourself out there. And, and as much self-help and self-motivation as you want to listen to, it really doesn't matter in the end, because if you don't push yourself to do it, then nobody else is going to hold your hand all the way through.
So it seems like you were conditioned, because you've been playing sports for a long time, right? And then you have this high pressure position of being a pitcher that, like, did you just through repetition and can become conditioned to handle high pressure situations that have then now benefit you as an entrepreneur, that you have you have confidence and belief in yourself? What do you say about that?
Well, I will say that going through life as a baseball player and eventually getting, through my whole life, I won't say that I was like the most amazing pitcher, but I, thought well enough in my head that if I worked hard enough, I could make it to the major leagues. And so that was my goal, right? All the way up through college, when my arm finally decided to lay down on me, and, I figured out that, I wasn't going to be able to throw 95 and make it to the bigs. I kind of had to reprioritize what I wanted to be. And it was a difference. It was a shock. That was a life change. I played baseball for 22 years and that's all I knew. And now I'm going into the world where I have to go now find a job, because that's what I had to do after college. I had to go find a job. I wanted to go rise the corporate ladder. And, getting into a corporate environment after college and working there for a year and a half, it was almost like, not like I'm better than everyone else here, but I think I can go a lot faster than this job is allowing me to go. And so, but you can't do that in constraints and like environments like that, because like you have to wait for promotions. You have to do this, you have to do that. Even if you could do a job better than someone that had been there for 3 years, you might still get it. And that was one thing that made me not want to be there. And then the second factor was that I had to work 50, 60 hours a week at a job that I hated. So, there was two things that played in with that, but like jumping into the world of entrepreneurship, my parents were somewhat entrepreneurs when they were younger also. And so I didn't really know that until I kind of jumped out and I got to learn a little bit more about their story. And so, maybe it was a little bit in the genes as far as being more or less risk averse in that sense. But I think you find that if anybody puts themselves in any situation, it's so much of it is mindset, that if you think you're going to fail, then you're probably going to fail, because that's just how your mindset is. But there's so many success stories out there that talk about the odds that people went up against, but they just kept, going forward and going forward. And the next thing you know, they're, millionaires, because they didn't listen to, all the noise around that of what could have happened, and just kind of went out and did it. And you're never going to see any success story without a bunch of failures. They might not talk about them, but like that'd be amazing if you could press a button and just become a millionaire. Right. But that's how it sounds so much. And so if your mind gets lost in the super easy, quick fix solutions, you're never going to give yourself an opportunity to learn about what really does work and what doesn't work. And it's different for everyone. Because what works for me, like I would have loved to have a SaaS, but then I realized, there's a lot of aspects of having a SaaS that I might not have enjoyed quite as much. And there's a lot of ways around building a physical products business that I could really enjoy. And part of that was having a product that I could hand to people and say, hey, try this on. They try it on and they go, wow, this works. Like you can't do that with like software and see someone's facial expression like in front of them, and like your physique changes, right? And well, with a product like this, but this isn't necessarily the only product I want to make on this. I have fun with the process of going through and learning how to just like build a business that I can build and run and sustain without my eventually without my necessary involvement, so I can sell it if I desire to, but I can grow it if I desire to. And I'm going to do a business that I want to be involved in. But
yeah.
Yeah.
I see there's synergy between your being an athlete and in this product, which has a correction, a physical like attribute to it. It seems like there's something there, and it's not surprising. I don't know if you've ever thought of it in that way, that just because you're that kind of guy, you have you seem pretty tall. Like how tall are you?
About 6'1".
Yeah, 6'1", and chisel. It just seems like this is a product that really you can kind of get behind because of your athletic background. You're not as much of like the SaaS nerd, and not to pigeon all the SaaS people as nerds, but computer geeks, because I love computer geeks. I'm kind of geeky, so but it's
kind of funny you say that. I'll interrupt you real quick, just because.
Yeah.
You mentioned the SaaS nerd side of things. So my dad was a programmer for like 20 years, and I didn't really understand what he did because I never was involved with computers or anything like that, because I was always so focused on sports and wanted to just get a business degree. But I didn't succeed at a SaaS, but I am in the process of making one for my buddy, who's also an insurance agent, and his family runs an insurance agency in town. And we did find a problem with them that, at their specific agency, they had, issues, with, SaaS kind of problems that we create. And so my dad is actually still in the process of building the MVP, if you would say, for
Sweet.
them. But it's really just a customized project that they're going to be able to apply to their business and help them with their workflow. And if someone else that from the industry wants to use it as well, then, we'll, work something out. But that's like, he's kind of taken over that side of the reins, because he's the developer, and that kind of, I didn't see that coming at all. So that was kind of cool. It really changed a little bit of the relationship between me and my dad, and we got a little bit closer because of it. So that was definitely a cool experience.
Yeah, that is cool. And your parents are the one who gave you that book about selling on Amazon, right? That's cool.
Yep.
Yeah. So when you realized that your arm gave out and you were not going to be in your major league player, that had to be a devastating loss for you. And I would imagine that your identity was really wrapped up into that, in your dream there being shattered right there. Were you lost? Did you go through a really, really tough low period during that time? And then how did you find yourself coming out of it?
Well, so the injury that kind of put my table completely on hold, not that I was necessarily going to make it to the pros anyways, but I ended up having a shoulder injury the summer before my senior year in college that sidelined me for the most part, for being able to pitch how I normally had. So that was pretty tough to deal with. And the biggest bummer there was that for about 5 months after the injury, I worked on rehabbing it because I couldn't afford to get surgery. Not surgery. I didn't really want to put the money in getting an MRI, because every doctor I went and saw said nothing was torn. You just need to rehab it. And then after 5-6 months, I was like, I need to figure out if this thing is really messed up, because it's still bothering me. And everything else I was doing wasn't working. Turns out it was torn. And so that was a real bummer.
Yeah.
But I mean, that was kind of like the nail in the coffin, and that was going right into the spring semester, about a month or two before. But instead of just letting that knock me down and not continue to at least try and finish out my last year, on the field with the rest of the guys on the team, which are like my brothers, I decided to, try and change up how I was throwing to at least be involved with people in that sense on the field. Whether I knew that I would actually get on the mound in a game, that was kind of irrelevant. I still wanted to be out there and be involved during practices. So I ended up switching from kind of throwing over the top like a normal pitcher would, and then kind of going submarine style. And so a big change there. And, it was something that I decided that was going to be my focus for my senior year, is to learn how to pitch like that, in the hopes that I'd make it on the mound. And, that really kind of helped get me through that last bump. Because if I wasn't able to, do anything at all, probably would have had a little bit different effect. But I was still able to try and turn it around and kind of push it out to the end there, to where I knew I wasn't going anywhere after college anyways. So I was just glad I was able to finish out wearing a uniform.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's switch into sort of a little bit of the, well, I know you talked about how this auctioneering is an important to you. And because it's not just cars or antiques or estate. There's more to it. We talked about before the interview, that there's a really bigger vision here. So do you mind talking about that a little bit? Yeah.
So when it comes to auctioneering, I'm not actually an auctioneer. I would be the person that communicates with the auctioneer on the floor between the bidders and whoever's selling an item. So me and my friend, the auctioneer, we work several auto auctions during the week with others in the industry as well, all around the state of Texas. And then on weekends, we will work benefit auctions, charity events, fundraisers for a whole different assortment of types of events, such as school fundraisers, all the way to cattle auctions. And then for raising money for like livestock shows and stuff. And like one of the cooler ones that I'd done recently was a couple weekends ago here in Austin. We did one for the Austin Smiles organization, and what their purpose is to fix the cleft lip issue.
Yep.
That happens unfortunately quite a bit out there, but we raise the money so that these doctors could go to South America and other countries and perform those surgeries on these children.
Wow.
So it's things like that really keep me tied to the auction business, and make me so thankful for my friend. His name's Cameron. His auction company, CW Auctioneers, is the one that we get behind when we go to these benefit events. And so when it comes to raising money for them, we have a lot of pride behind how we're getting out there and how good of a job we're doing, because on the bottom line is people are paying us to raise money for them so that we can benefit these children. And I mean, we raised over $100,000 at this last auction.
Cool.
Which is,
so
definitely
awesome.
more than they had raised the year before. And that's all our goal is: raise more money than they raised the year before and really help out this cause that we're going with. And so, and that's part of the excitement that keeps with it, because it's still a fun job all around, but having that cause behind it, I'd really love to, as I continue these ventures into the physical products realm, to eventually maybe, use that to help, the auction side of things even more, start own auctions and, send leave like a nonprofit for someday, something that I can get behind a cause that's greater than, just myself. Because it's, I enjoy doing it. It's fun to do it for these other organizations because of everything that we get out of it and everything they get out of it. And, one day, it'd be cool to be able to put my name behind something like that as well and support a cause, it's truly greater than me, and create something in that aspect as well. Because like entrepreneurs out there, you like to create something. You always want to make something new. If you conquer one realm, why not go into the nonprofit space? It's a completely different side of business, but it's also new. It's also got different features to it that you can
totally new things to learn.
Yeah. New things to learn, and a different cause behind it.
Yeah. Yeah. Real quick, just because you talked about cleft lip and palate, just because I'm a speech therapist. And so I had to do a little PSA. That's where there's a hole up in the hard palate where there's actually a passageway between the mouth and the nose, and that can really affect a child's ability to speak clearly, because now air is coming out through their nose and it shouldn't be, and it also affects their ability to eat as well, because now food is actually going up there. Yeah, the whole thing. So yeah, and so there's sort of there's a critical window around gestational. I think it's gestational week between 8 and 10, where that's actually fuses closed. And if the mother has experienced some sort of like toxins like mercury or drugs or drug abuse or anything so like in those periods there, then what can happen is that there's no fusion there, and then there's this opening on the lip and then in the hard palate, and so you can have a cleft lip and cleft palate, or just cleft palate and or just cleft lip only. So anyway, I have a lot of speech therapy friends that also just do some cleft help with work on the team with surgeons to help them again now communicate and generate correct vowels and consonants, after surgery. So part of a whole cleft palate team, which is pretty cool. So
that is pretty cool.
Yeah, so it makes a huge difference. Changes lives for sure after surgery. So good thing. So what would be the first few steps for somebody who was thinking about Amazon, selling something or a product on Amazon, or thinking about that, that you could, because you've been through it, you've taken these steps, and what would you recommend that they do? We don't have time to talk about the whole thing. There's so much involved, but I want to help people maybe a little bit to try to at least start them in the right direction. So
are you looking for just the Amazon business in particular, or kind of in general?
Well, you're primarily going to sell on Amazon, right?
Yeah, for now.
Yeah, and then change and expand it. So, so like e-com, I guess it could be just general e-commerce, I guess, if you will, or not e-commerce, but product.
Yeah, well, I would say with Amazon, there's several different ways that you can get into selling on Amazon.
Okay.
So there's like the private label way, which is the path that I chose to go, is going to be the more capital intensive upfront, just going to, cost a little bit more skin at the front of the game. But you can also utilize Amazon in a lot of different ways outside of just being a private labeler. I mean, it's the largest marketplace in the world. Okay. Retail arbitrage, where you could go and, buy, items on discount at like Target or, wholesale stores, and then throw them on an Amazon account, and even utilize the Amazon Prime shipping. So you have that 2-day incentive and make some cash doing that, and just roll that cash into the next level of Amazon you want to work at. If you were starting from the bottom, and you needed to be a little bit more, creative with coming up with ways to make money. There's a lot of ways outside of, throwing a bunch of cash into Amazon that you can get started. The way I did was a little bit more cash intensive up front, because my intention with it is to build it as a brand and be able to package it and sell it as a business one day. So I began listening to a podcast called the Freedom Fastlane podcast with Ryan Daniel Moran. And that guy has a very similar mindset to what I had in building an Amazon business. And so I latched onto him right away. I came across his stuff a little bit after I'd already been kind of stumbling around the Amazon field, and just to find info. I mean, you can go on YouTube and see all kinds of people here and there, but I found a lot more value, and a lot more of an ability to act on stuff if I just get it from a select source or two. Sure. That I only absorb the information from, so that I get the info from them. And if I trust the source, I go put that that information into action, and then I see what happened, and then I'll go back and I'll learn more and more and more. But find when you've had a couple different teachers, at least, that you're used to their styles of teaching and you enjoy learning from them, you will be able to act on that a lot better. And sometimes those teachers and coaches in this space, they cost a little bit of money to get involved with the programs, because it's a serious business, and they would be dealing with tire kickers all the time if you didn't have to invest a little bit
skin in the game.
Time. Yeah. And it's just part of it. And if you want to be scared about investing any little bit amount of money into investing in a physical products business, I would say don't do it, because you're going to fail, because it is something that is a real life business. It's just online. It'd be the same thing if you were trying to start your own brick and mortar business, except for you don't have to, it's way cheaper.
Sure. Oh yeah. You're right. You don't have to keep the lights on and the heat and all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was the name of that book that made a big difference for you? Do you want to mention that as a resource for people?
Yeah. So one book that I came across a few weeks ago, actually, that it really validated everything I had done getting up to this point. It's called The $1 Million One Person Business by Elaine Pofelt. I think I'm saying her last name right. And basically, she's a journalist that interviews entrepreneurs for a living, and she saw this huge trend in one-person $1 million revenue-generating businesses over the past few years that she decided to write a book on because she interviews them all the time. And she compiled all that information and basically put it down into the 6 businesses that she sees are most successful that people can run as an effective one-person business. Mm-hmm. You can generate 6 to 7 figures of income and, effectively like outsource the correct kind of work and build the business the way you want to. Like, it's right here. I mean, it's not just physical products that you have to get into. If you want to build a business, you can build a brand around or run from anywhere. There's, plenty of other options out there. And this just took like all the clutter out and gave me like 6 super real concepts that if I wanted to just like, I'll just go back and look through the book and just see some of the examples about how some of these people creatively advertised or built their business in a completely different space. And it just gets my brain juices flowing as to how I can do something different with my brand. And so, yeah, I mean, that's like I said, if I had that book a year ago, it would have cut out so much time of just bouncing around and not like, I'm trying to find the right website that's going to show me how the best ways I can, build a business like this. It's right here in this book. So that's what I would recommend for someone that wants to get started in it and wants to see their options, about the best options that are out there, and then dive in from there and start getting used to those businesses and what it would take to actually run it. Would you enjoy it? That's the most important part. Would you enjoy it?
Sweet. So I want to start wrapping this up here and tying a ribbon on this thing here. So, and I'm going to, include all these links in the show notes and the products and book recommendations, the podcast and all that stuff too. So people can look for that too on the 20milemarch.com. Check it out on the blog post. Yeah. What's the best way for people to connect with you? I think your one of your visions as well is to also you're building this product, this brand, but you also want to help other people too along the way because you've figured it out too, and you want to help other people avoid the same pitfalls that you had to go through too. So what's the best way for people to connect with you?
Yeah. I guess, I don't even really have a website up yet for this.
That's okay, man.
All that stuff's in the works, but my email address is, just give the Exomend one so that it can kind of link back to that. In this sense is darby@exomend.com. Or if you want to email my Gmail, it's darby.a.rollins@gmail.com. It really doesn't matter to me. I'm not a big fan of titles anyways. I just think this is all fun.
That's right.
That's for some of the business stuff.
We're just having fun.
Yeah.
We're just having fun being honest and authentic of where we're at. And is there anything that you want to say right now that I didn't ask at this point, or are you feeling good at this point to let it go here?
And I think that we had a pretty good talk. I just want to kind of say one last thing, and that if anyone does have something they're wanting to get started on, but they just can't quite pull the trigger, there's no better time than now to do it. So just go on, pull it, do it.
I love it.
Get out there.
Yeah, there's no better time right now, right? No better time than do it, just to pull the triggers, to start going at it right now. Because that's just another day that you're just getting older and you're not doing it, and you're not, going after your dream.
There's no better time to fail.
Yeah, that's right. You only have one time at bat, right? I thought I'd use a little athletic an analogy there, right? So this is your life. Go live it.
Right.
Darby, I really enjoyed this conversation. I really did, and I wasn't sure all the direction that we were going to go, but it's always fun. I feel like I know you a lot better now, and I think a lot of people will resonate with your story, especially a lot of the sort of the athletic guys out there, you know, in what I think this could have a big impact on some of those ball players and stuff out there too. So this is really, really cool. So thanks for being, being willing to come on to this right here, you know, before launching your product and before it's, you know, quote, perfect. And that's awesome. So I appreciate you.
If anyone wants to see kind of what the product looks like, they can add me on Instagram or go look at my account. I think my username is Darby A. Rollins.
Okay.
And my last post, I don't post a whole lot on there, but I think my last one was a kind of a product announcement just the other week. So that's where you could get a visual on it there.
Awesome.
And then connect with me over Instagram too, for sure.
Cool. All right. Well, we're gonna say goodbye, and thanks, man. Appreciate it. Appreciate your time.
All right, man. Appreciate it.
Yep.
Night.
Hey guys, thanks for listening. I really hope you enjoyed this show with Darby Rollins and him talking and sharing about his posture correction device and how he took it from an idea to creating a product. And I just wanted to give you the website. It's www.exomend.com. That's EXOMEND.com. So check it out. Let him know. Support him. Show him your love. And thanks for listening.